Ever feel like Google's got its fingers in every pie imaginable? We're diving deep into that feeling today. You wanted the full Google picture, not just search, but how a company with a mission statement straight out of sci-fi actually works in the real world.
And you've provided a fascinating stack of sources to do it. We've got Google's official pages, their product listings, even their founder's IPO letter from way back.
Oh yeah, that IPO letter was a gold mine. They talk about organizing the world's information, but even back then they were dropping hints about being an unconventional company. What's your take on that looking back now?
I think unconventional is putting it mildly. It's easy to forget. But when Google started just organizing web pages was a huge GE task.
Yeah.
But their mission statement wasn't about algorithms, it was about impact.
Hmm.
They were already thinking about how this would change how humans connect with knowledge itself.
Which, okay, sounds kind of lofty until you realize how much we Google every day. It's become a verb. But this long game thinking you mentioned that really comes through in the IPO letter, too. They were willing to prioritize the future, even if it meant less profit early on.
And that's where things get really interesting from a business perspective. Think about it. Gmail, Google Maps, even Google Docs, all free. Most companies wouldn't dream of giving away that much. But Google understood something crucial. A massive user base is incredibly valuable, even if it doesn't directly translate to immediate revenue.
So it's like they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. They're thinking 5, 10 steps ahead.
Exactly. These free products aren't just about being nice, they're about gathering data. Every search, every email, every direction request feeds their algorithms, making them smarter and more effective. This allows them to offer incredibly targeted advertising, which is where the bulk of their revenue comes from. It's a brilliant, if somewhat controversial business model.
And this long-term strategy extends beyond just the products themselves, right? Didn't Google get a reputation for those legendary employee perks?
Absolutely. The free food, the on-site gyms, even the nap pods, it all ties back into that long-term vision.
Mm.
By keeping their employees happy and engaged, Google reduces turnover and fosters a more innovative and productive work environment. They were among the first to truly grasp how investing in employee well-being could translate into a competitive edge.
Okay, so we see how Google invests in its people. But to build all those products, to tackle those massive goals, how do they even wrap their heads around organizing what they're doing? We've got this product list here, and it's honestly overwhelming. I mean, we've got everything from email to self-driving cars here. How does any company, even one as big as Google, actually wrangle all of this?
You're right. It's a bit like herding digital cats. That's why Google breaks things down into these categories. Products for all, products for business, and even products for developers. It's a way of making sense of their sprawling ecosystem.
So it's like a map through the Google jungle. Let's start with the stuff we probably know best. Products for all.
Exactly. These are the everyday essentials. Search, Gmail, Maps, Android. They're so ingrained in our lives that we almost take them for granted. But what's fascinating is that Google strategically tucks away some real gems in this category, too.
Okay, you've got my attention. Hidden Google gems. I'm all about those. What kind of gems are we talking?
Have you ever explored Google Arts and Culture, for example? It doesn't exactly scream must-have app, but it's honestly one of my favorites.
Wait, seriously, I thought that was just for like art history buffs. You're telling me I can virtually wander through the Louvre from my couch?
And so much more. It's like having a virtual passport to museums and cultural sites all over the world. High-resolution images of artwork, 3D tours of ancient ruins, even street art from different continents. It's a fantastic example of how Google uses its technology not just for utility, but also for cultural exploration and education.
See, this is why I love these deep dives. Okay, so products for all covers the everyday and the surprisingly awesome. What about the products for business category? Sounds kind of self-explanatory, but I'm guessing there's more to it.
Right. It's not just about selling ads, though. That is a huge part of it. This category showcases how Google's reach extends deep into the business world. Think Google Workspace, Gmail, Docs, Sheets, and Meet, but on a massive collaborative scale that businesses rely on. Or Google Analytics, which helps businesses understand their online performance with incredible detail.
Okay, so Google's everywhere in our personal lives. And the backbone of countless businesses. What about the products for developers category? To be honest, that one's always felt a bit like a black box to me.
I get it. Not everyone speaks fluent code, but this category is actually super important, even if you never write a line of code yourself. This is where Google provides the tools and infrastructure for other companies, developers, and even researchers to build upon.
So it's like Google's not just building the house, they're giving away the blueprints and power tools too.
Exactly. Think Google Cloud. Businesses, big and small, can host their websites and data on Google's servers instead of having to manage their own expensive infrastructure. Or TensorFlow, which is a machine learning library that's used for everything from developing new medical treatments to powering self-driving cars. It's all about enabling innovation beyond just their own walls.
Okay, that's actually pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. They're not just building products, they're building an entire ecosystem.
Hmm.
But it's not just about tech dominance, right? These sources also highlight Google's commitments to, well, making the world a better place.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting from an ethical and societal standpoint. They've got these bold statements about protecting users, expanding opportunity, even advancing sustainability. The question is, how do those lofty goals translate into real-world action?
It's one thing to slap a slogan on a website, but it sounds like Google's actually putting some serious weight behind these commitments.
Right, and that's where diving into the specifics gets really illuminating.
Oh.
Take protecting users, for example.
Yeah.
Obviously, cybersecurity is huge EE for them. They're guarding mountains of data. But they've also developed things like the Digital Wellbeing Suite.
Oh, yeah. I've tinkered with those features. It's kind of wild that Google tracks all that screen time stuff, but then lets you use that data to break your phone addiction.
Exactly. It's about giving users more agency in their digital lives. And then there's their transparency report, which they've been publishing for years. It breaks down things like government requests for user data and their efforts to combat things like phishing and malware.
So a bit of a peek behind the curtain. I like that. Okay, but let's talk expanding opportunity. That's a big one. What does that look like beyond just like Google careers?
It's multifaceted. Education is a huge focus. They've got programs like Google for Education, providing tools and resources for teachers and students. And then there are the Google Career Certificates, which offer affordable online training in high-demand fields.
It's smart. They're leveraging their tech expertise to address things like the skills gap and workforce development. Okay, but including all voices, that one feels especially important these days.
Hugely so. And it's an area where Google's both made strides and faced criticism. Their annual diversity report is really interesting. It breaks down their employee demographics and outlines their efforts to recruit and retain a more representative workforce.
But representation's only part of the equation, right? How are they making their products themselves more inclusive?
That's the real challenge. They've got a dedicated accessibility team making sure products work for people with disabilities. Then there's their investment in AI fairness, which gets super interesting from a technical standpoint.
Okay, break that down for me. What's AI fairness all about?
It boils down to making sure algorithms and machine learning models aren't perpetuating existing biases. For example, if a hiring algorithm is trained on data where, historically, men were hired more often, it might unintentionally disadvantage female applicants. Google's trying to build tools that identify and correct for that kind of bias baked into the data itself.
Wow, that's getting into some deep ethical territory. It's not just about building cool tech anymore. It's about the societal impact, right? Reminds me, what about responding to crises? Does Google have a disaster relief team or something?
They do have Google.org, their philanthropic arm, which responds to all sorts of humanitarian crises.
Ah.
But they've also realized their technology itself can be a powerful tool during emergencies.
Right, like Google Maps updating with real-time evacuation routes during wildfires. That was huge.
Exactly. They've got SOS alerts that push out critical info during natural disasters and Person Finder to help people connect with loved ones after a crisis. It's about using their reach to provide vital information when it matters most.
Okay, last but not least, we got to talk about advancing sustainability. Is Google actually walking the walk on that one?
They're making a real effort. They've been carbon neutral since 2007 and aim to run on entirely renewable energy by 2030. They release an annual environmental report detailing their progress on things like reducing their carbon footprint, conserving water, even how they're tackling e-waste from old devices.
That's impressive. But what about beyond their own walls?
They're thinking about the whole picture. They develop products like Nest thermostats that optimize home energy usage and are pushing for ethical sourcing and transparency in their supply chain.
Wow, they really are trying to cover all the bases. It's a lot to digest. We started with the simple idea: organize the world's information, but that one mission statement has snowballed into this whole interconnected universe of products, commitments, and ethical questions.
And that's the thing about Google, isn't it? They're a reflection of our digital age, the incredible potential, the complex challenges, and the constant need to evolve. They don't have all the answers, but they're actively shaping the conversation.
So next time I'm just Googling something random, I guess I should be thinking bigger picture. Am I okay with how my data is being used? Am I supporting the causes they're backing? It makes you think.
Those are the right questions to be asking. Not just about Google, but about any company with this much influence. We all have a role to play in shaping the digital landscape even through our everyday choices.
Well, on that note, I think we've officially completed our Google deep dive. Big thanks to you for navigating this maze of information with me, and to you, dear listener, for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep those Google searches thoughtful, and remember, every click counts.